بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله يجتبي إليه من يشاء ويهدي إليه من ينيب صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Respected listeners, dear brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah, we're approaching a very, very special time, the final last 10 blessed days and nights of the month of Ramadan. And one thing we must understand, the Messenger of Allah alayhi salam taught us something very important. Al-ibratu bil-khawatim. Consideration is given towards the ends of things. Once again, consideration is given towards the final outcome and the ends of things. What does that mean? Let's say, for example, somebody is running a race. The race is supposed to be 5 miles. So what happens? One guy is running extremely fast. He's beating everybody in the race for the first 4 miles. Then the last mile, what happens? He gets very, very tired. He starts to slow down. He's huffing and puffing to catch his breath. He sits on the side to drink some water. And then what happens during this time? The other racers, they pass by in front of him. So in that last mile, that's when he slowed down. The other people went ahead of him. He lost the race. So what's given consideration is the end portion. Let's say the first 4 miles, somebody was very slow. But now the last mile, he very, very fast. And he beats everyone and he reaches first place. That person won the race. That person is number 1. He's the champion. A person, for 80 years of their life, they were not Muslim. They didn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then in the last moments, Allah gives them tawfiq, Allah gives them hidayah. They pass away as a believer. Inshallah, will they get Jannah or no? They'll get Jannah inshallah. Because the ending was that way. Then opposite, you have somebody, 80 years they lived as a Muslim. And na'udhu billah, Allahumma ahfadna and protect us all. The last few moments, the person was tricked by the shaitan and they left Islam. So 80, 90 years they lived as a Muslim, but the last moment they failed. That person will not be successful. That person would not enter Jannah in that case. So respected listeners, we are in the last moments of Ramadan. We're in the last third of Ramadan. The last few days and nights of the Mubarak and blessed month, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. So whatever happened in the first 20 days, some of us, maybe we spent very good 20 days. Very, very strong, very, very powerful. Lots of dua, lots of Quran. And then the last 10 days we get tired. This is not the time to get tired. You're in the end of the race. You have to keep pushing to the end. And some of us, maybe the first 20 days we didn't do so good. We weren't utilizing our time properly. We didn't use those blessed moments before iftar to make a good, powerful, sincere dua for ourselves, for our family members, for our akhirah, for our qabr, for our death. We didn't make the best of it. Inshallah, you still have time, these final 10 days. Maybe during suhoor, we didn't make enough time and effort to make dua at the time of tahajjud. You still have time now, brothers and sisters. Let's make the most of these final moments. You know, when Yusuf alayhi salam, his brothers, when they came to Yaqub alayhi salam, their father, after the whole dilemma took place, and they messed up and they made a mistake, they said, قَالُوا يَا أَبَانَا اسْتَغْفِرْ لَنَا ذُنُوبَنَا إِنَّا كُنَّا خَاطِئِينَ. They said, oh our father, please ask Allah for forgiveness on our behalf. Ask Allah to forgive us. We've made a mistake. We've made a big mistake. Ask Allah to forgive us, please. So what did Yaqub alayhi salam say? He said, قَالَ سَوْفَ أَسْتَغْفِرُ لَكُمْ رَبِّي إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. He said, soon I will ask my Lord for forgiveness on your behalf. So subhanallah, the Mufassireen, they mentioned an interesting point, an interesting question here, that usually A pious person, let alone a Nabi of Allah, if somebody asks him or requests him to do something good, then usually what's the norm? Right away they'll do it. They're not going to wait. Immediately, you want something good, you want a dua? Okay, here's the dua. They'll do it fast, they'll do it right away. That's the sha'n of a Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the question comes, why did Ya'qub alayhi salam, and especially these are his children, of course he wants his kids to be forgiven. Of course he wants maghfirah for his beloved and dear kids. Why did he say, wait, soon I'll do it, but not right now? Anybody know?
He was going to ask during tahajjud.
MashaAllah, very good. He was saying, we'll wait for the right exact moment when du'as are accepted. We'll wait for the time of tahajjud. We'll wait for the blessed moments when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rahmah, when His mercy is coming down extra, special. I will ask Allah at that time, I'm going to wait. So brothers and sisters, you know these last 10 nights, these last 10 days and nights that we have, number one, it's the month of Ramadan. It's already special. Number two, if it's before iftar or if it's at the time of tahajjud, it's even more special. And thirdly, we're in the last ashara. We're in the last 10 days. So you have so many angles where you're in special moments. From so many different avenues, you're in special times. Wallahi, if in these last 10 nights, we don't really cry to Allah and open our hearts to Allah, we failed. We haven't made the most of our month. So please, brothers and sisters, let's make the most. Especially iftar time, 10 minutes before, 15 minutes before. Suhoor, wake up a little bit early, a little bit extra early. Those last few moments of tahajjud, utilize it for du'as, inshallah. The ayat which I mentioned before you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions an interesting point here. Allahu yajtabi ilayhi man yasha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selects whomever He wills. وَيَهْدِي إِلَيْهِ مَن يُنِيبُ. And Allah guides towards Him whoever continuously turns back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah guides that person. Allah brings that person close as long as you keep turning back to Him. So, one group of people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just puts a light into their hearts. Allah puts that flickering light in their hearts. They are naturally attracted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you feel that connection, brothers and sisters, you just feel like, you know what, Allah is calling me. I just feel like praying. I just feel like making dua. Allah is just calling you at that moment. Take advantage of that time. Because Allah is giving you a special Wi-Fi connection. Not everybody has that connection. You know, sometimes on your phone, when you go to a business or something, and then it shows up, Wi-Fi connection is available. You click it, then what happens? Your phone can get connected, right? But if you don't click it, then what happens? That sign disappears. So when Allah is opening your heart, when Allah is calling you, when you get those feelings, I feel like Allah is calling me. I feel like I need to make more dua. I feel like I need to be more punctual on salah. Take that opportunity. Press the button. Type in the password. Allah is calling you. He will establish that connection for you. This doesn't happen for everybody. The second category, you make your way towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You knock the door, you knock the door, you knock the door, you beg Allah and you are persistent. Eventually Allah will open the door for you. Man daqqa al-baba walajja walajja. The person who knocks the door and they're continuously persistent. They're showing their need. Knock, 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 knock. Hello, anybody home? I need you. No one's opening. Again, hello. What's going to happen if the person that inside the house, if they're generous, if they're a caring person, eventually they'll open. What does this person want? Maybe he's desperate. Maybe he's in some extreme need. Now imagine knocking the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will open it for us eventually. Inshallah, just to explain this concept, I'll end off with one story. Imam Shibli rahimahullah ta'ala, he tells an interesting story. He says, one time they were on a journey. They were going for Hajj or they were going for Umrah. They were going for some journey or maybe it was a business journey. I don't remember exactly. But he was with a large group of his companions and they're traveling. So at that time, they would keep all of their food, all of their goods, they would keep it on top of the backs of the camels. So they have all their camels loaded. And the place that they came from, ripe, fresh dates, fresh nuts, fresh fruits, fully loaded on these camels. As they're traveling, the highway robbers come. The robbers, they come. They stop the caravan, they stop all of the camels, everybody off, give us everything that you got. They start checking everyone, take all their money, take all their gold coins, all their silver coins, dirham, dananir, take everything. And they started taking all of these nuts and dates and all of these things. And each and every one of these people from the robbers, they're just popping these almonds and popping these, whatever it was, cashews, almonds, and they're enjoying and they're eating and they're celebrating. Now the leader of this group, the big gangster, the mobster, the leader of the mafia, he's standing to the side, not eating anything, dry mouth, empty mouth. So Imam Shibli rahmatullah alayh, despite all of the bad situation that he sees, he still wants to learn something. So he approaches the leader. He says, you know what? You're the leader of this caravan. All of your shagirdan, all your students, they're eating the nuts, they're eating the dates, they've learned from you. You're the leader. How come you're not eating anything? How come you're not benefiting from all of this? So subhanAllah, look at his answer. It's the last answer that you would expect. He didn't say it's allergies. He didn't say, I'm not hungry. You know what he said? He said, sorry Shaykh, I'm fasting. Inni sa'im. I'm fasting. What kind of a fasting person are you? What kind of a robber are you that on one hand, you're robbing people, you're zalim, you're oppressing people, and then on the other hand, you're here acting like you're so pious. I'm sorry, I can't have any of the dates and any of the nut, I'm fasting. Sorry, afwan. So, Shaykh Shibli rahmatullah, he left this whole incident and he was very ajib. What happened? What type of person is this? On one hand, he's so pious, he's fasting. On the other hand, he's robbing the caravans. Many years later, Shaykh Shibli rahmatullah alayh, he was going for Umrah. And as he's making tawaf, he sees somebody is staring at him. And mashallah, the person is dressed very nicely, lots of noor on his face, nice beard. The person is making tawaf. And eventually he meets up with that person and he talks to him. He says, Assalamu alaikum. He says, Wa alaikum assalam. He says, do you know who I am? He says, no, I don't know who you are, but your face looks a little bit familiar. He says, remember, many, many years ago, there was a caravan. We took over that caravan and you asked me why I'm not eating and I told you I'm fasting. SubhanAllah. This guy now, he's come for Hajj. He says, I want to share something with you. He said, when I told you I'm fasting and I'm not eating, you looked very shocked and surprised. He says, I want to tell you something. He says, Wallahi, from those days, every time I would steal or I was involved in this robberies and involved in this bad lifestyle, I felt bad deep in my heart. And I used to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would cry to Allah azza wa jal, and I would say, Ya Allah, please take me out of this lifestyle. I don't like living like this. And he says, every day, I would fast for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I would say, Ya Allah, I know I'm bad. I know I'm a sinner. I know I'm living a bad lifestyle. But Ya Allah, through the barakah of this fast, please save me and take me out from this lifestyle. Allahu yajtabi ilayhi man yasha wa yahdi ilayhi man yunib. You keep turning back to Allah. You keep turning back to Allah. You keep turning back to Allah. One day Allah will open the doors for you. He says, Alhamdulillah, for many years now, Allah has allowed me to be clean. Live a pure lifestyle. I have a halal income. I've tried my best to pay back whatever things have happened in the past. And he gave some amount to Shaykh Shibli, rahimahullah, for whatever mishaps that took place in the past. You see, like this, Allah makes changes. Allah can guide anybody. But the shart and the condition is what? You have to be sincere. You have to keep churning. You have to keep crying. You have to keep knocking the door. Imagine the month of Ramadan comes, the month of Ramadan goes. We haven't even knocked on the door. How is Allah going to open the door if you never even asked? Right? Imagine someone comes to the door, standing there for 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, and then the next day they're complaining to you. Brother, I came yesterday, you invited us, I was there, you never even opened the door. He says, brother, did you knock the door? He says, no, I just came and I stood in front of the door. He says, well, of course nobody's going to open the door then. You have to knock. And then if the person doesn't open, you knock again. The person doesn't open, you knock again. If it's an emergency, of course we're supposed to only do it 3 times, but if it's an emergency, you keep knocking. The door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you keep knocking. You ask Allah, you beg Allah, you cry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We make dua once, we get tired. Inshallah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these last 10 nights, brothers and sisters, make it a point. Knock on the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Knock and knock and knock and continue to knock. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open that door. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us all. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.